being the capital partner's son had to make the talent partners a little nervous. How did you get along with the individuals that your dad entrusted to run the company?
Well, I can tell you one thing. Being the owner's kid isn't awesome for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
You don't get the same benefit that you'd think, especially when you're sitting on the sales floor as everybody else. Mm-hmm. No special privileges, no base pay, a lot of hazing. Mm-hmm. Big fan of making through tough times.
Welcome to Motivational Monday, conversations with me, David Ibarra, and my guest, Kolby Hansen from National GMC and National Auto Sales. Welcome, Kolby.
Thank you, David. This is my first time.
This is your first time?
Ooh.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be excellent. What I want to do is just simply have a conversation and have our listeners just learn a little bit about you. So my first question is, tell me about growing up in Utah and your family.
All right, David. I'm the youngest of 6. Mm-hmm. I have 2 families. I have my sisters, then I have my brother.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So same mom, same dad. We're good.
Good.
We're good. I've got Kathy, I've got Karen, I've got Christy, and I've got Kim. Mm-hmm. Okay. From those 4, which were every 2 years, then my brother came 9 years later, and then I came 5 years later after that. So 2 out of my 4 of my sisters, I've never lived in the same household with. So in fact, my sister's been married as long as I've been alive.
Wow, that's quite a spread.
44 years.
Well, since you were the youngest, was there any spoiling of the young?
Oh, I was just forgotten.
Hansen?
No, it was awesome. I didn't have any rules.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You were spoiled.
Old parents didn't really check curfews.
Tell me about your father and the business that he was in.
You know what? My father is my biggest mentor. He was in A1 Quality Glass. He was the founder and the president of the automobile glass repair. And he grew to 35 stores in 5 different states. And he was a king of the deal, and he was king at managing people. He really, really had a great gift to get people to like him. And they followed him. He was a good leader.
Now, when you say king of the deal, tell me a little bit more about what that means.
He was very good at negotiating.
Okay. So buying stores, opening
stores, real estate. He was a master negotiator.
So you had 35 locations in what states?
We had Utah, Idaho, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada.
Hawaii. Now, didn't your father's name?
Lloyd. LG Hansen. Lloyd Grover Hansen.
Yeah. Now, he also, since he had a presence in Hawaii, is that when he got his home in Hawaii, or did he get his business first and then his home, or his home and then his business?
Oh, I think it was the same time, which was awesome. Right? Yeah, he ended up buying a condominium on Kaanapali Beach for $68,000.
Wow.
That was all IRS protected. It was for the business, but he spent a ton of time over there. We had the privilege as kids to spend a lot of time in Hawaii. Maui, I know it like the back of my hand, but it was really cool to be there.
Now, is the condo still owned?
Condo's still owned by my mother, and we do not rent it, and it's always full.
Is that right?
Yes, it's awesome.
Well, I think I was in Hawaii at the same time that you were, but you were too busy to come over.
Oh,
and
please.
I'm just kidding. Tell me about the dad's business. Did you get involved with that growing up? Did you have
he
a role?
Sold it in 86. Which put me at 6 years old. So I don't recall much. He was around a bunch. He's got some property up in Smith and Morehouse past Oakley that he loved. That was his passion. He would drive up there basically on a daily basis to check on his cabin in the ranch.
Is that right?
That's what occupied his time.
Okay, well, you talk about your dad mentoring you. Tell me a little bit more about that. How was that relationship? How did he become your mentor? And give me a little example of of where he guided you, without certainly talking about the content. But
You know what? It was more off of how I watched him treat people and how he was able to, I don't want to say manipulate, but his communication was so well that most of the time he could figure out, he could get what he wanted. And he did it with charm instead of force.
Yeah.
So I really watched the integrity of the communication skill that he'd learned over his lifetime of working. And it wasn't anything direct. There was no direct leadership. It was, I'm going to pay attention. Oh, he's good. Wow, everyone likes him. He has a lot of friends. He's a leader in the community. He's just a really big inspiration for me.
Perfect. Well, I remember your dad, and your dad would come in and visit me every now and then. And as he got into the automobile business, he was just always asked some really good questions. And you had to be on the top of your game when you were talking to your dad, because he came in with a full expectation of leaving with something that maybe he was not quite decided on. But most of the time, he knew exactly what he was going to do. He just wanted to validate with a couple of people that he may have respected their opinion. So I always loved talking with your dad. Tell me a little bit about your mom.
Oh, my mom. She's the best. She is 89 years old. She's not on a single synthetic medicine. She's been a vegetarian for 45 years. She is the most holistic, spiritual, loving, kind person that you could ever imagine.
Wow, that's good. And you are very close to your mother.
I am.
Right, and so you go over there quite often for Sunday dinner, or
we do. I don't see her as much as I'd like. My 3 kids give me too much time debt, but she is a great mother. She's in really, really good health. She taught me how to be healthy. She's lived a whole entire life of eating vegetables and exercising. And if you saw her, she kind of looks like you, young.
Well, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. And that tells me a little bit about why you followed some of the same regiments that I follow. Tell me about school. Where did you go to university? Because I know you went to school. What is it that you thought you were going to be? What did you study? Tell me a little bit about that.
I didn't love school. Don't share this with my kids.
Okay.
C's get degrees, and that is correct.
So at least you showed up.
I showed up. I went to Olympus High School, had a lot of fun at Olympus High School. I then went to the University of Utah. I joined the Beta Theta Pi fraternity. Had a lot of fun there. Graduated. I actually was a exercise and sports science major. And I decided to leave all of my hard classes towards the end, the anatomy, physiology, all of the things that were very difficult. So it was quicker for me to change to family economics and consumer studies. So that is my degree. I'm an FCS major.
Tell me that again.
Family economics and consumer studies.
Wow.
Which has no relevance in what I do.
Well, when we talk about the 5 most important roles in our life, family, faith, community, health, and wealth, you almost got them covered in your degree.
There we go.
That's perfect. Now, tell me a little bit more about that degree. What is? How do they blend together?
Okay, so this is what family and consumer studies is. It's basically underwater basket weaving, holding your breath.
Okay.
No, it was a fill-in degree. It's okay. In theory, it's how families are raised, the economics of families. C's get degrees.
Okay.
Should have went to marketing.
but moving back to that, it definitely has found its value in that we're going to talk about your business that you own in a moment, but it is applicable to serving people that are considering or buying an automobile, wouldn't it be?
100%. 100%.
Is that how maybe you leaned in towards a different form of advertising in the business that you have, digital or virtual? Because
I wouldn't say so, David.
Okay.
That's just me being me.
Okay.
I like being talked about. I'm like the Cowboys. Get your popcorn.
All right.
Okay, well, so there we go.
Let's pivot right into, you own a couple of automobile dealerships. First was a used car dealership And tell me about that, and how did you get involved from the very beginning? What job did you have, and how did you progress through that?
Okay, that's a great question. So I started selling cars right in high school, and I'd work 4 days a week, Saturday, 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 and I'd sell 12 or 15 cars. It was very natural for me to talk to somebody, get them to like something, and do business with me. So during that time, I also was a personal trainer, and I realized really quickly that I could make way more money using my brain than lifting weights up for other people and counting reps. So, a little pivot.
So that's why you still have the habit of going to the gym every day at a certain time.
Every day.
What time do you go?
I go at 9 o'clock every day.
And if you miss it, how does that affect your day?
It's terrible. Now,
your dad owned the dealership. Is that right?
He did, correct.
Okay. But he was not active in the dealership, or was he?
He was capital.
Yeah, he was the capital partner.
The talent partner was our ex-partners.
Yeah. Well, okay, ex-partners. So next question that I was going to ask is, being the capital partner's son had to make the talent partners a little nervous. How did you get along with the individuals that your dad entrusted to run the company? Take a moment and picture in your mind igniting your child's journey to lifelong success from an early age. With Yes, Our Kids Can, this vision becomes a reality right from preschool. Don't miss this chance to shape your child's path towards extraordinary success. Enroll in the Yes, Our Kids Can University now and witness the remarkable impact it can have on your child's growth and development. Secure your child's bright future today. Sign up now by clicking the link below.
Well, I can tell you one thing, being the owner's kid isn't awesome for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
You don't get the same benefit that you'd think, especially when you're sitting on the sales floor as everybody else. No special privileges, no base pay, a lot of hazing. Big fan of making through tough times.
Right.
That's what makes people.
After you started selling cars, what was the next position that you took?
So this is funny. So we had a little embezzlement in our company, and we had a split in our partnership. Well, we realized really quick we didn't really know what we were doing. And when all things were aside, we woke up to basically $1 million in the hole in our bank account. And so somebody had to scramble. And I like when people bet against me.
Okay.
That's when I thrive.
So is that when Lloyd gave you the reins?
So that was when I was 23 years old, and I had an opportunity to buy 51%. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but if I was going to invest my time and my sweat equity and money out of my pocket, there was zero chance that I wasn't going to make it work. It was no matter what, I will figure this thing out, and I did.
So I can't remember exactly what the time period was or what war it was, but it was in the ancient Greek time. But the word burning desire came from that 300 warriors were going to battle against like 3,000, and the leader said, start the ships on fire, burn them. They go, what? Burn them. We've got the sea, and we take that hill, and we either win or we all die. So that kind of reminded me of that story. That's called burning desire. There is no chance for failure. No chance. It's not going to happen. And I've burned my ships. I've got no retreat. It's full speed ahead.
Yep. That's exactly what it was.
Cool.
It was cool. It was.
So how was the experience of going through, and I'm assuming you bought this from your dad in the way of a note, and that you could pay it back based on you had to make money to pay it back.
I actually didn't.
Oh, okay.
I had been flipping real estate for the last 6 years prior to that.
Really?
And I had enough funds that made sense for me to retain 51%. So it was actually a cash note.
Wow.
And it was really hard because when you're 23 years old, not very many people respect you as an operator.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept hiring people to be like, okay, help us. Well, at the end of the day, until you figure it out yourself, it's not going to move. So I did everything that I could do. I put myself through Joe Verdi, sales training. I've had some really, really good people that I worked with. Mm-hmm. I always tried to, whether they were good, positive, negative, or indifferent, I wanted to grab one attribute of whoever I was with and do it better than them.
Right.
Whether it's a meet or greet, or whether it's a walk around, or whether it's have a better attitude. Because if you can take a little sample of what everybody does good, you can become great at something.
That's absolutely right. Now, I didn't know anything about the flipping houses part of your background. You said you'd been flipping houses for...
Flipping real estate. It's a
estate.
lot. Raw land.
Raw land.
Raw land.
Now, how did you get involved in that?
You know what? I'm going to thank my dad for that one.
Is that right?
Yep, absolutely.
He taught you.
He did. We had an opportunity to buy a lot in Pepperwood for $200,000. That 200 turned into 430. That 430 turned into 680. And then I shouldn't have bought the last one because 2008 hit.
Well, there's always the adjustment, and that's also where you learn something too.
Absolutely.
Because when things were going well, and during that 2008, people were buying houses and renting them, and I remember a couple of individuals that I worked with. I said, "Now, how many houses do you have?" "I've got 8, and they all got a mortgage, and 3 of them or 4 of them are empty." And they end up losing them, which means somebody ends up gaining them.
It was a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. So what were some of the difficulties that you found when you're 23 years old taking over the used car dealership, National? What was, besides the fact that you were young and...
all right, that's a loaded question, David. Mm-hmm. Okay, the biggest problem is we didn't have enough capital. Mm-hmm. And that was really, really hard because we were playing the game of we didn't have enough capital, let's go buy cars and hope for a float, which is very common practice. Everybody floats on everybody. Mm-hmm. So it was really hard because I had to learn how to sell cars, lead people, manage an office, get deals funded through F&I, get them through the shop, market, close the books. And I didn't rely on anybody to do this. Mm-hmm. But I also realized one thing at a very young age is I don't want to do all of these departments forever. Mm-hmm. So this is called growth. So how do I not do these? Well, you hire really good people and you give them really good processes and you bring a really good attitude. And it's amazing what you can get out of somebody if you give them the right energy.
That's so. You're the chief energy officer of your group.
No one has any more.
That's great. So how long did it take before, okay, I've got this used car, pre-owned facility running smoothly? How long did it take you to get your arms around that and have the capital?
So the first year that I took over the dealership, National Auto Plaza, we had turned a strong profit.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So it took 1 year to get it going.
Okay.
We did really well until 2008. Mm-hmm. And then that was even more interesting because we had inventory that was $7 million worth that had an actual cash value of $3.5 million. Mm-hmm. And that was very, very tricky.
And you sold your way out of it?
No, so I bought my way out of it. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what that means.
Okay, please do.
So everything went so low for a brief period of time, and I had so much inventory that I was so heavy in, I would go buy the current inventory at market value, which to this day, I would buy 12 V8 Jeep Commanders with a third row seat, and I could buy them for $700-800. Mm-hmm. They had a wholesale value of $19,000. So what I would do is I'd internally write those vehicles up $8,000. Mm-hmm. So my cost basis was higher than what I paid, and all of the inventory that I was in super heavy, I would bring down. Mm-hmm. So I was basically playing a stock portfolio of my inventory because that was the only way we could get out. So instead of panicking and dropping prices and the world's going to come to an end, I went all in.
You figured it out.
I said, you know what? I'm going to go buy $3 million worth of cars. And that $3 million saved our ass.
Perfect.
I probably should wouldn't swear.
Perfect. No. That's very good. That's good. So tell me then, you get healed, you're making quite a bit of money, and you weren't satisfied.
Got to grow.
So what happened?
So we opened up another location. That was our Murray location. And that struggled for a minute. I got a good operator, Charles Wajuti, awesome guy. He helped me get that profitable and thriving really well. And then I got a funny phone call. I was actually trying to get awarded a Kia store. I had tracked down I want to say, regional manager in Irvine, California, and just dropped by to say hi and introduce myself.
Right.
And I thought I could talk my way into a point, which is nearly impossible.
But
I tried. And guess what? He still knows my name, Greg Grigowski.
Good. Yeah.
And after 2 years of chasing this idea that I wanted to be a new car dealer, a gentleman, a friend of mine, reached out and said, hey, I got an opportunity to buy a Nissan Kia store in Idaho. Would you like to participate? And I said, let's go to lunch. So we go to lunch. We pre-negotiate what seems to make sense, go back and forth 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and we put a deal together. And next thing you know, I'm an operator of the Kia store, and he's an operator of a Nissan store. And we took a Pocatello Nissan Kia was selling 30 cars a month, and we took that from 30 to 130 within a year.
Wow. So then that became the new car, and then you weren't satisfied. You decided you wanted to do something domestic here in the state of Utah.
I didn't want to drive 3 hours to go to work.
Yeah. So tell me about that.
This is fun. Okay. So, you want the whole story? Because there's a funny story behind this.
Well, I'm all ears.
Okay. So I was buying GMCs personally and making them look cool like I always do. Lift tires, wheels, paint match, chrome delete, amp boards, 37-inch tires, 24-inch wheels. And I figured out at this point in time, the domestics weren't holding, none of the new car stores they were selling them way too cheap. So I was buying these Denali's for $58,500. They had $70,000 MSRPs. Well, my competitor, I'm not going to say his name, figure it out if you wanted to, found out that I was reselling them and basically told me to pound sand on I can no longer buy vehicles from him. So in my brain, I said, you know what? I'm going to go buy a GMC store. During that point in time, I picked up the phone. I called Auto Farm at the time, and I bought 2 vehicles on Saturday, which they delivered from my store for $57,500. And I looked at my general manager, Matt Scott, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go buy that store.
I remember it.
Yep. You consulted me on it, and I appreciate that. You were part of the buy-sell. So I tracked down the owner, really, really good guy out of Huntington Beach, put a suit on. I met with my mentor a couple times, Mr. David Ibarra, and we had it under a buy-sell within a couple of months.
And you you took that store from doing almost nothing to
a lot.
Selling about
170,
and prior to that it was like 30 to 40 max.
20 to 30.
So, there's a lot to be said. You get whatever you believe. If you believe you can't, you can't. If you believe you can, and you've always believed in you.
Oh, you got to bet on yourself.
Yeah, and that is an outstanding story. So you end up having several stores, and then if I recall, you decided, well, I want to be solo. So you and your partner in the Idaho stores, you decided to sell to him and let him go off on his own and take your money and do something else with it. So tell me, what's next for Kolby Hansen?
Oh, we're going to find another store. It's going to be a good one, too.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I tell you, is that I've always been incredibly impressed with your level of energy. And I'll tell you, nobody works harder and expects more from their group, and you have a group that believe in you. So as long as you maintain that, and I can't see you ever being any other way, then the future ought to be real bright for Mr. Hansen.
I like this.
Well, thank you very much for being on our program. And for being on our program, I've got a gift for you. A copy of my latest book, Live Ready, I almost gave you the line of my old book, Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich. Thank you for being on our program.
David Barra. Thanks.